Good morning. I'm sat in front of the contemplation tree. I'm at my friend's house while they are on vacation, and I'm cat sitting and abode sitting. So it's a more of an off-grid situation. So this is a post. This is a part of the house, and feeling really grateful to be here. I woke up feeling really like anxious, not present. And I had connected with a friend on the property, a new friend that I work with, and we got to talking about stuff and ended up sharing a bit about like where I'm at and transitioning out of this relationship that I've been in, and ended up going into depth, actually unbeknownst to me. I didn't even mean to. I just ended up doing so, and talked about a lot of it, like emotionally hard things, which was well received, and I felt, seen and, heard. But it just, I think I had a little bit of a vulnerability hangover, but also like a ruminating hangover, and started feeling anxious and paranoid about like how I'm being perceived, and am I like, because the situation and the recounting and the story of that chapter of my life was so intense and dramatic, and I'm just like in awe that that was my life. And yes, I started to feel like just kind of embarrassed, and ended up having a dream last night where I had reached out to my past partner, and it was so real, and it like ignited those, like the feeling of like the addiction. I remember being half awake, half asleep, and just like compulsively wanting to reach out to him, and how strong that felt. And I didn't do it, and I'm glad. I'm glad I didn't, because when I woke up and I followed that thought through, it's not going to go anywhere. It's not going anywhere. Just like with an addict, I want to drink, I want to drink, I want to drink, and then you follow that thought through of like, okay, imagine you go and you have that drink, and then what happens after that? And what happens, like follow that night through. And like with me, I've just like had enough. I'm just satiated by the experience, and I'm trying to and so I noticed how like my energy felt a little off this morning, and just not feeling really open or grateful. And I noticed it, and I was able to track what happened. And I think, this whole thing being so fresh, it makes sense, that it's coming up to be seen and expressed, because I repressed everything that I had been experiencing in that chapter of my life so much that I think it's like now I'm like talking about it openly for the first time, and just how hard it was. But I also noticed that like there's a fine line between like doing that, and I want to be very careful of like the energy that I invite in by creating it when I start to ruminate, because even though I'm doing my darndest to get out of that drama triangle, reliving and retelling the story I'm not sure is really serving me at this time, because I've done it so much, because that's what trauma does. You like relive it and ruminate and relive it. And I've gotten to this point now where I'm like feeling satiated by that, and feeling like I want to invite in more gratitude in my life and just in general, because I see how that helps my energy body and my energy kind of remain in balance. Because whenever I do the opposite and I ruminate, it like jacks my energy up. It like does, yeah. I don't know if I feel like I'm saying the same thing over and over again, but I think it's really important to like maybe speak about, because I gotta be careful with my posture. I don't want to be too, like that. Yeah, just wanting to invite in more presence and gratitude, and just like let the dead be buried, let the buried dead, what am I trying to say? Let the dead be buried. I had this like analogy kind of come to me several weeks ago when I was, thinking about, this process. Is like, when we're changing pattern, or we're letting go of something that we've chosen to consciously let die in our life, like a relationship, like a job, like a living situation, like a friendship, we've chosen to consciously remove that thing from our life. So we have created a conscious death. And, before, when that thing was active and alive and a part of your life, there was patterns, there were things, there was routines and rituals that you did. And so just like with any death, with something that hasn't passed on, there can be these times in our brain where the habits and the routines and the rituals are still trying to play themselves out, because that's what we know. Just like a ghost that hasn't passed on is like still hanging around the same house, doing the same thing in limbo. And so with this, practice I've created around mindfulness, it's just like when the thought comes, when, the rumination starts, or when anything comes in from that chapter, that ghost of the past, I just am practicing like sending it back home to the creator, just like with any kind of like death doula work. The conscious death is created, and how do we send, we help the souls get home to God, to creator, and it doesn't have, when you have a death, there's a journey that the soul goes through to get to the afterlife, and so you're courting and you're reminding over and over again, when the ghost comes in of that chapter, like you're reminding it where it belongs, which is back home with the creator. Like you don't have dominion or residency here in my life anymore. You have died. I have let you go. You don't have space here anymore. And so I'm going to keep reminding you every time you come in, no, go home. And I get to redirect and focus. It's like, oh, redirect. So it's like a scorpionic, Piscean, death doula approach to mindfulness and healing and moving on with your life. Because that's what this is about, like if I were to follow that impulse through, that addiction impulse through of reaching out, and like, what would that have done? It would have done nothing good. So I just keep reminding myself that connecting and re-engaging with that ghost of my past, the thing that I am consciously choosing to send home to the creator, where it belongs, it doesn't, it will do me no good. re-conjuring up and like playing the Ouija board again. It doesn't work, you know. Let what's dead be dead. Stop beating the dead thing, the dead horse. It's dead. It's been dead. That's why you've been suffering, because you've been hanging out with demons and ghosts, girl. And that chapter cannot come into your future where there is only but abundant life force. And you are also letting go of like the old you, the version of you. Like, it's not just that thing has died. The part of me, the version of myself, the identity that held that is dying too. So it's a whole transformation process that I'm going through, you know. It's this death and rebirth, you know, this transformation. Neptune is crossing my ascendant and has been for a while and will be for a while, because it's a slow-moving planet, and there's just so much dissolving. And I'm just kind of like, I think about the things that I want to do and have ambitions towards, and or at least I did, and I'm just like, I have no idea who I am right now. Like, and I'm just gonna let it be revealed to me, instead of just try to force something to happen because I feel like I should be, because of some hypervigilance that once was very much alive and well and thriving in my body. I don't want that. That's dead too. I want to let that die. So I'm just enjoying the present moment, and like my spirituality is the thing that's the most alive in me and that takes up the most consciousness in my life, you know. Besides my responsibilities, my whole being is oriented towards my spiritual practices right now, and doing those invocations and decrees that I mentioned in previous videos. And so I'm really curious and open to see how I emerge from this and how I am going to be changed by this, because this has been such a consuming part of my psyche and my life for so long that I'm like, who are you? You know, because if it wasn't that thing that I was fixated on, that person, that lifestyle, if I'm letting the thing that even held space for that kind of energy die too, now what? You know, now what? If I'm letting that whole thing die, that whole self die, what remains? You don't have to carry this all on your own. You don't have to carry this all on your own. You don't have to carry this all on